Good morrow, and welcome to our podcast, the show where we discuss all things fantasy, tabletop, and basically anything that interests us. We're your co-hosts, Katie and Mandy. Tonight, we're going to review our one-shot of The Curse of Strahd. And first of all, it was such a fun evening. Mandy actually DM'd for us, and actually, I'll let you tell a little bit of background of how you went about doing it, why, etc.
Yeah, so I think we may have talked about this before, or maybe it's been just like in passing conversation, but it is passing conversation because Chris asked us like 6 months ago what our favorite D&D monster is, and mine just happens to be vampires.
Yeah.
I love vampires. I love the lore behind vampires. I just think they're so fun. It's such a fun lore for me. And with that, I've always wanted to play Curse of Strahd.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have the book. I have even like a DM screen for it. But then the group I was playing with before, we just couldn't that I was DMing for back before we all moved. We just schedules, right? We couldn't get everybody's, it was like 5 different families instead of 2, like trying to get everybody's schedules to line up. So it just never happened. And then I was trying to think of what to get Chris, because he like gets real butthurt at me when I spend money.
Yes.
So I was trying to think of ways that I could get him a gift that he would really enjoy.
For his
that
birthday.
I would also, for his birthday. Yeah. So I was like, Chris never gets to play D&D. What if I run a campaign? And then I was like, poof, running a whole campaign, that's a lot, even though I'm doing it right now anyway.
Yes, you are.
But I was like, ooh, what if we figure out a way to do a one shot? So then I started looking, and then I found on D&D Beyond, there is a suggested Curse of Strahd, Strahd Must Die, how to run basically the climax, or like a very condensed version of the climax of Curse of Strahd, and you get to fight the big bad monster. So
which is the part that everyone
really
wants to do anyway, if we're honest.
Yeah, really, at the end of the day. And it was just fun for me. It was lots of fun to try to and you guys literally avoided every pitfall. It was a whole thing, but like the most fun for me was like I created a little invitation to send to Chris, and like Katie knew beforehand what I was gonna do. Jason didn't know.
He didn't know?
No. Because I don't trust that guy to keep a secret from Chris.
Oh, that's true. That's
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's really good at keeping like character secrets from you, and I don't know how he does it, because Chris and I can't keep anything. Like for our characters, we know basically everything.
It's so annoying. So like, no, I'd say he's the worst, but it's also really cool.
Your light just flicker with
Yeah.
Strahd coming back from,
it's spooky. We're going into spooky season.
We are.
But no, like like for instance, Mandy figured something out about Jason's current character, and I'm just so giddy at the fact that I know something about his character that he doesn't.
This is in Chris's campaign?
Yeah, I confirmed it with Chris that Jason's character does not know and that Jay doesn't know, but Mandy figured it out. So it makes me just deeply happy.
Oh man.
I didn't figure it out by like connecting lore or anything. It was, I literally asked a question, and Chris did that really fun DM thing that you get to do where you're like, interesting. Yeah. What an interesting question.
And you're like, aha, check this away for later because I just figured something out. Kind of like my character and like the red hair, all of that. Mandy's constantly figuring things out for like all of our characters. And then she'll say,
but not for my own character.
No, yeah, not for your own. And then she'll like say like, oh, I think I figured this out. And we're like, no, you just went down some crazy rabbit hole.
You're
and sometimes
crazy.
You do. But
not even sometimes. I would say like 90% of the time I fall down a crazy rabbit hole that means nothing. Like Chris will be like, and the wind blew to the east. And I'm like, there's something about that.
It's true.
And I'll hang on forever. And it's a very there is no Pepe Sylvia moment.
Exactly.
I give off a really strong Charlie energy when it comes to D&D lore.
So it's fabulous. Oh man. Yeah, it was really fun the way Manny did the invitations, which like I know that adds another level if you're a DM, and if you don't want to do that, that's fine. But speaking from experience, being the recipient of such recipient of
Recipient.
such I'm having an issue with words tonight, apparently, or how I'm pronouncing them.
Interest.
Interests us. It was really fun. I loved the fact that you made this like cute little invitation, and you sent it to all of us. And like you said, I already knew about it, and I was so excited to see Chris's reaction, and I was really good, and I didn't say a dang word. And then he pulls up his email, and he's like, "Oh, he's so excited." I mean, not quite so high pitched. Only if he's
No, I
watching,
want it to be that high pitched. Let me have that. Let me have that.
Let you have that. He was really excited. Instantly started working on his character, which actually that reminds me, I had a question with you about that. So you made the initial characters for each of us. You had, did you make them up yourself? Was it in the module? How did you go about that?
So I did a couple things. One thing that like, and we'll attach the link to the article that I found, like talking about how to do this. Where it basically said you should have this many level, like, let me bring it up. I didn't have any of the characters. What I did was I pulled what I thought characters would interest y'all. So I created those characters from my head, and then kind of just went off of what, like, I knew Chris would want to play a paladin, but I also know Chris is so stupid good at this game that I picked the weakest paladin class.
Yeah, he was so mad about that. It was so funny. He would not let that go.
No, it was on purpose. And for you, I knew you had played with the idea of doing a bard. So I thought this might be like a fun way. And I also just loved the bard class that that I picked for you. And I thought it would be fun to see that in play. And Jay, I just kind of asked him what he would want to do. And I looked at something that would be different. I knew he wouldn't want to play cleric in this go around. Because he loves his clerics, but he also like would like to wreck stuff, and he did wreck stuff, which was nice.
He did great.
Yeah. And then there's John, who loves wizards a whole lot. So I gave him a wizard. I did throw him a loop though, in that he was a transfiguration wizard. That did not have polymorph.
Purposely.
Yes. So the people that I knew, not that you and Jay aren't good at this game, because you both are. I just knew they would be more likely to give me shenanigans.
Of course.
That I wasn't prepared for. And of course, I still had shenanigans.
You did.
Like, Chris was nuts.
You want to talk about that? Like, holy cow.
Gosh. Well, first of all, let's talk about John. So John's character, he's a wizard, so he gets a familiar, right?
Yes.
And he messages me at one point. He's like, "Can I have a duck familiar?" And I was like,
of all the familiars to have.
Sure thing. And then he was like, "But also, I want the duck to hate my character." I was like,
this is amazing.
You got it. Done. And I wanted Brutus.
Brutus. That's right.
One of the like fun but also difficult things when you're doing a one shot, especially with a group like ours where everybody is so good at this game. One shots like this can't really be open world. Like, there's a definite goal in mind, right?
Yes.
But also, in order for RP to be fun for a player like you who loves RP and loves all of those things, but you also love combat, you're a very good mix, where I'm probably leaning more towards RP and stuff. But everybody had to have established relationships, right? So like John and Jason's characters were like childhood friends. You and Chris's character were like secretly in a relationship, and it's like secret because everybody knew, but they couldn't confirm it. And that was really funny for just me. So there were these little moments in your characters that I thought was really hilarious. But nobody else knew about them. Like
Yeah.
Chris's character had like a really fun background, or just a really interesting background that I had played with for a while, and I wanted to see it in game. And I was like, we're not gonna play in Faerun anymore as a group,
Right.
so I'm gonna put this in somewhere.
It was great. I love the characters. They were fabulous characters, and she nailed us perfectly. Giving everyone what they love and things that they're excited about, but also like a little twist, which was really fun. I really enjoyed playing my character because, like you had said, I've always wanted to play a bard, even though I haven't done it yet, fully. And bard class it gave me was great. It was intriguing. It was the way I played her was very much so akin to like Esmeralda esque anyway. And I loved it. And I loved like you had mentioned, our character was like secretly romantically involved. But it was fun for me is that my character was kind of aloof to him a little bit, like, oh, I mean, yeah, okay, sure. But I'm also just gonna like flirt with everything that moves. Whereas he was like apparently head over heels for my character, which was fun because
There was
usually
It's the opposite, which I
yes,
thought was
and
really funny.
yeah,
And I loved that Chris like leaned into it because at one point he was like, my character is so I can't remember what his name was.
I don't
Soren.
remember. Yes,
It was
Soren.
Soren. Soren is so focused on Daenerys'
Mhm.
affection that he is like obsessed.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is adorable, but also just so funny because Chris, well, number one, he's just obsessed with you anyway, and it's gross. But it was really he normally doesn't play characters like that. So it was
Yeah.
fun for me to really see that. And maybe it's like not normally, he just doesn't have the chance sometimes, right?
Potentially, yeah. And even like
Yeah.
when our characters are like romantic and like, when he's DMing or whatever, he just kind of like glosses over it because he doesn't want to like take the time when he's DMing to like
Yeah.
do that when all of you are all like sitting around. He's like, okay, well, we can like RP that off or whatever. I'm like, that's fine with me.
That's adorable.
Oh goodness. Anyway, before I blush too much. Um, you thinking about how you made our characters initially for us. There were some things that you had planned out ahead of time, like you had said, like which class we have and like subclass,
Mhm.
etc. But you did also leave other things open-ended for us. Did leaving those open-ended parts foil any plans that you may have had later on? Because I
You
know
know,
like
some of just being a DM, and like you've DM'd, so you know this, but like some of being a DM is like making plans and just totally preparing for these moments that you've fallen in love with, like your favorites, to just disappear. Like you just don't get to do them. Like I had a whole moment where like in my head where if a certain thing happened that I thought would happen, that like Strahd was going to kill you
oh,
first.
that's
Um
not what I thought at all.
Oh, Strahd was going to focus on killing you first because
Okay.
Soren was the biggest threat, and Strahd has really high insight, and he would have been able to see just how he was acting, right?
Right.
That you were the way to push him off kilter,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
Um, but there, DMing is just watching all those favorite moments that you have in your head, just like ride off into
Bye
the distance.
bye.
Like, guess that's not gonna happen. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely like Chris, and it's my own darn fault. I didn't think more about the questions he was asking me. But
It's
Chris
fine
did
print.
did this whole thing where like I can't even describe what happened really. Like, so he summoned his mount, that
Yeah.
you can do, and I forgot. Like, I let him pick feats. I let you guys pick feats and certain things, and he picked mounted combatant, which I thought was weird. And I was like, all right, whatever. And I forgot that he could summon a steed.
Yeah.
I forgot he had that ability. And then he starts like just dragging Strahd all over the place when they're fighting. And it was just like this moment where I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
like this is a moment, this is a moment that got away from me. And that combat really felt like it got away from me, which is fine. Y'all had a blast, but
we did.
there was a couple like NPCs you didn't run into. There was also like a whole room that I made specifically to freak Chris out.
We never did get
Like,
to that room, did we?
oh, you never got to that room because the whole point of the this one shot is you are exploring the castle.
Mhm.
You're exploring Castle Ravenloft to find the items and to find Strahd
Right.
and kill him, right? And free Bavaria, whatever. It's this city, that's the realm they're in. And you guys never went to that room, and I was so sad because I love messing with Chris. And like one of my favorite DMing moments has I created a whole session just to mess with him. And it was so I could tell he was having a great time, even though he was
Hmm.
stressed out about it.
Yeah.
But I was really sad when you all walked by the room and I was like, please go through the door. Please, please, please. I don't know why my lights are
You're,
doing what they're doing.
I'm telling you, it's Strahd again. It's just
It is,
hanging
it
out.
is. So yeah, I mean, there's a couple times where I was like, but there was gonna be like ghosts coming out of like this bathtub, and then there's also gonna be like
All fun.
a like zombie hiding under the bed that was gonna grab Soren's leg. There was a whole thing that was I had like these moments, and then also just Castle Ravenloft, it's meant to be gothic horror. It's meant to be scary.
Right.
So a lot of moments were kind of like lost because you guys didn't go into that space, which is fine. Like you guys ended up finding an NPC who you somehow persuaded to lead you to where you needed to go.
I just don't know how that
Um,
happened, but
I don't either. In all honesty, like it's because Chris rolled charisma really high, and also like
you did.
there's a part of playing D&D, right, where you know what your DM is going to find compelling, even
Yeah.
if they're, and Chris was able to do that. So, I mean, yeah, there's things that I didn't get to do or like that y'all foiled, but they're also just really funny moments we had together, and that's part of D&D.
Yeah. That's true. Um, I it really was so much fun. One of the things also that I enjoy about playing one shots in general, I think, is when you play when you play like a full campaign, at least for our players, with the exception of maybe one, we all get incredibly attached to our characters, and potentially a little bit too much so sometimes.
No, it's perfectly healthy. Shut your face.
Very akin to like method acting, like to the extreme. And we just really love our characters. We love the lore that we've created. We love the lore that we learn from our DMs. We put so much into them, their background, their histories, their likes, dislikes, like so much deeper than just likes and dislikes, like just everything, like a whole history about them. And we love that because it builds and it creates so much depth to our characters. However, because of that, if one of them should die, it is like devastation, and
Yeah, it's rough.
it's awful.
Yeah.
However, with the one shot, which I really enjoy, is the fact that you don't get that as attached because it's just a
Yeah.
one shot and you don't have like all of this background history. And so like it's kind of exciting where it's like, oh, like my character might die, and like that's kind of exciting, like just for the one shot. I don't know why, maybe that's kind of weird.
A little bit, but go off.
But like it's exciting. I remember when Chris and I were talking about prepping for the Curse of Strahd and everything, and what we thought was going to happen, and we kept trying to like analyze the conversations that we'd had with you, and we're like, okay, so I'm pretty sure that like there's no way we can defeat Strahd, that like we're all going to die, or we're all going to get turned into vampires or something. And we had convinced ourselves that that was going to happen. We'd also convinced ourselves that Strahd was going to try and seduce my character and turn her into a vampire and like give her an
I mean, that
ultimatum.
was a goal. Like all of these things were options, right?
Right.
Like there was a lot that could have happened. It's interesting because Strahd, I won't give it away for people who like want to play the whole campaign.
Right.
But Strahd has some very clear goals and very clear things he wants done. And he's attracted to certain things. Lore also makes it very clear he's just attracted to somebody who's attractive. It doesn't need to, he's very gender fluid, right? It doesn't really matter. Which is why at the end of the, because I could tell you guys were waiting for Strahd to hit on Daenerys, and he did for a second, and then he switched to Jason's character, which was the funniest thing for me in the world, because even Jason was like, "Oh, I don't know how to." What?
It was very entertaining. It was great.
But you all, that I played it, I dialed it up to the highest difficulty, but you all still had a really good chance of defeating Strahd, because I dialed him down a little bit.
Okay.
Right? Because of the level you were at. Like, I don't want to, I'm never, for as a DM, I'm never going to throw you into like a situation where you have no chance. Like, there's definitely situations where good luck. I don't.
These are the consequences that you've made.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
But I'm always going to make sure you have the ability to win. And also it's a one shot, right? Like if we ever wanted to go into Bavaria again, like we can, it's not like Strahd is dead, because right, he's pretend. So we could play this all over again if we wanted.
This is true. Like, someone came back and brought him back out of, I don't know, non-existence, and he's back.
I mean, he was like thoroughly destroyed. But I'm sure I could retcon it. It could be fine. I'd figure it out. If y'all wanted to play it, we could totally figure it out.
This is true. I think for anyone who is debating whether or not to do Curse of Strahd, I would definitely suggest do it. It was super fun. It's one of the modules that I had considered running a while ago when I was first looking at doing a one shot before I decided to kind of try and do my own. And it was the only one that I decided like, ooh, this one intrigues me a lot. And I started like trying to figure out like how I was going to do it.
I didn't know that.
No. This was a while back. And then that I decided beforehand that I was like, no, I want to do my own thing instead, because I was falling too much into like, for me, like Bram Stoker's Dracula. And I was like, okay, I want to do something a little different.
Yeah.
Which I mean, it's still one of my favorites, but yeah, definitely suggest doing it for anyone who is interested in doing module.
Yeah, no, I had a lot of fun running it. I mean, there were some things that I wasn't a huge fan of, and like thinking about it, like afterwards, I was like, oh, I wish I had done this, or I wish I had thought about this. There were a couple times where like I know the lore a lot because I've read the whole module. I really love that lore, and I also, like I said earlier, I love vampires, right? So it's something that I read for fun. So I understood the lore, and it's hard as a DM when you throw people into something like a one shot in a realm that they haven't been before. Because there's things that like you guys didn't necessarily key into, that would have made more sense to you or had more meaning. If you had understood the lore. So I wish maybe I had like sent you a lore document or something like that beforehand. I know. I'm like, oh, what's going on?
A weird burp in my throat. Hopefully I didn't pick that up on the microphone.
I didn't hear it, but I guess we'll hear it in the audio later. So there's that. And then I also like had the thought, like two of you were playing classes that were like newer to you. And I almost wonder if you would have had more fun playing a more familiar class, right? Because you wouldn't have like, so I thought about that a little bit. Like I did pick those classes on purpose because I thought you'd have fun. but also like afterwards, not that you guys slowed down the game or you didn't play them well, because you did. It was more, I noticed like Jay was getting stressed because he hadn't played that class before. So he was a little bit like,
Okay.
ah,
Yeah.
just trying to figure it all out and figure out his actions, things like that. So that's one thing.
For like any
What
one
other?
shot, maybe instead of picking a new class, stick with one you know, because you won't
Yeah.
necessarily like level up and such or
Yeah.
have
So
time to
like
get to know them.
that's that. And
Okay.
also like I had in my head, um, this is also something that I chose to do that you guys didn't run into. I did something that like the website, like that article mentioned, in my lore called Gothic Permadeath.
Okay. What is that?
Um, Basically if like Dynera had died,
Hmm.
right? You would have come back one level lower
Oh, that's
than you had
interesting.
before. Because
Makes
like there
sense.
was ways for you to get revived around you. Y'all didn't need them and you didn't find them. And Strahd actually would have offered to bring you back
Oh, I'm
for
sure
a
he would have.
price. Um, but there
That's
is little
fun.
things like that. So I think there's, as a DM, modules are a little bit hard for me, in all honesty, because like I don't just fall in love with my characters. I fall in love with everybody's
Hmm.
characters. And like in the
Same.
Call of the Netherdeep that I'm running right now, I'm resisting the urge to bust away from the actual adventure right now,
Yeah.
because I want to go play and play with y'all's backstories. What is happening with this light?
If you got a bug in it and it's frying.
Stop it. You know how I feel about bugs. But what I'm meaning is like it's a struggle sometimes as a DM to like, I'm an all or nothing personality. So if I'm doing a
Mm,
module, I'm going to do a module, I'll finish the module, and then we will do the homebrew stuff,
yeah.
later. Or we might do some interspersed. I have a couple things. I woke up at like 2 a.m. 2 weeks ago and I was like, idea. And Jason was like, oh no.
Oh
Um,
no.
oh no. This is going to cost money or emotional pain. Um,
Or both.
or both. You never know. But no, I had a lot of fun running that one shot, and I think it's a really fun thing to do around Halloween, which is why we're
Hmm.
talking about it, because spooky season.
They do.
And really, it didn't take me a whole lot to prep. The longest time really was balancing out your guys' characters. That took the longest for me, is making sure, one, that you had some type of healing somewhere. You had the
Right.
paladin, and you could heal as
Yeah.
well. And also just making sure everything made sense and trying to prepare for John and Chris's shenanigans. I had like a whole flow chart.
It's necessary, honestly, sometimes.
Honestly, yeah, honestly, the three boys playing together is always
It's
just
absurd. You know what? One of these times I'm just going to surprise you and I'm purposely going to plan everything to screw up and be shenanigan-y as possible.
honestly, you screw things up in different ways though. You don't like go, "Hey, I want to drown this drow priestess in purple worm poison."
You
With a
think
water
ahead.
elemental. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um you like you'll ask questions where I'm like, why would you think to? How dare you ask the one question that will reveal everything? And then I'll be like pulling in my head, like going, how do I not?
Oh,
Uh,
makes me happy.
how do I not give away everything? So you do your own shenanigans, just in a different way. The boys just do shenanigans where I'm like, are you okay?
No, they're not. It makes me concerned. Oh gosh.
But no, it was lots of fun. I think it was lots of fun to do before Halloween, or
mm.
it would be lots of fun to do for Halloween. I think this would also be really fun to do in person, but also
Oh yeah.
very very manageable, I think, digitally. I think
Mhm.
we worked it out digitally really well. Roll 20 has a module that you can buy that has everything in there for you already. And if you're lazy like me and would rather just spend the money on the module than make things, it's there. They have everything you need and it's super fun. There's also a bunch of people on YouTube that have run this before.
Oh, okay.
So you can kind of like, I watched them a little bit to see how they did it. And I was like, oh, I like that. And I don't love that. So we're not going to do
Yeah.
that, but we're going to do that.
That's a good idea.
No, but it's lots of fun. You know, it's spooky. I think it's lots of fun in person. You can make your Halloween costumes. I don't know. Bring
It'd be
spooky
fun.
candy. Well, I think it would be lots of fun.
Okay. Well,
We've said fun like 17 times in the
we
past
should
3
have like
minutes. Good.
a counter like we have in the past. Well, I think that's a good segue. Have you run Curse of Strahd, any of our fellow watchers? If you have, what did you enjoy about it? Or what did you not? We'd love to read what you have to say. Good morrow and good night, and we will see you next time. Bye.